If there's one message that's loud and clear at the 40th annual meeting at the World Economic Forum, is that those green shoots of global recovery under the snow here at Davos might just turn out to be made of bamboo. A record delegation from China, reinforced by strong participation from India, is highlighting Asia's prominent standing, not only at the World Economic Forum, but as a global economic powerhouse driving the recovery.
Asia will be a strong contributor to the planet's growth, but given the size of their economies, that will not be enough to compensate for the low level of growth in the United States and in Europe. So thank China, but it's not enough. We have to do more.
The IMF expects that Asia will be the engine of economic growth in 2010, accounting for about 2/3 of world GDP growth. China's public sector stimulus will keep the economy revving at up to 9% per year, and India is also poised to return to a growth rate of 9%. Newer growth economies like Indonesia are also fueling the 10-country Association of Southeast Asian Nations, the so-called ASEAN bloc of nearly 600 million consumers.
They are going to lead recovery, and the growth rates are significant. The other advantage both in India and China is the population.
Between China, India and ASEAN, that's nearly 3 billion people, including a rising and increasing affluent middle class. This is the reason why Asia's now looking to demand generated right on its doorstep, rather than on merely exporting to the US and Europe. In Indonesia, domestic demand now drives 3/4 of its economic growth. The same is true for India.
As India grows, it's not merely a challenge for us to sustain and maintain that growth, but how to manage that growth. And in managing that growth, the big challenge is the infrastructure deficit we have.
That's why India is looking to spend more than $70 billion over the next 2 years just for road building. It's only possible because Asia weathered the recession much better than any other region, a fact not lost on delegates here in Davos.
I believe there is a structural shift going on where the world economy will begin to depend more on Asia for its growth. Asia, particularly India and China, are growing from a very low base. There's a long way up for them, and that's why you're seeing growth which is internal.
Aside from domestic demand, it is intra-Asia trade and investment, all among high-growth economies, that's fueling the region now. This in turn is leading growth across the planet.
It's this whole notion of a regional production center which has evolved in Asia, but I think increasingly it's not just the production center anymore, but Asia as a market, which is what we are seeing certainly with the structure and growth of our exports to both China and India.
And not only in the next decade, many economists say we are witnessing the birth of an Asian century. Despite travelling to the heart of Europe for the meeting at Davos, many Asians turned their backs on the West and networked with other Asians, including the Gulf Arab states investing sovereign wealth funds in East Asia.
One thing I think they all agree is the move of the economic power, future economic center from the West to the East. The emerging market is going to be a major player going forward, and I think China is right in the middle.
And with the region's large government reserves and broadly solvent banking system, Asia's therefore in a better position to take advantage of the global rebound in the next decade and beyond. But it could lead to surprises.
I think it makes sense for China to invest in overseas assets. They've got all these US dollar reserves, which obviously is at the risk of devaluation. So if I was a Chinese government, I would go and buy assets overseas instead of buying just, for example, treasury bonds. So on one hand, they want to use their money wisely, and secondly, obviously, they want to acquire the technology and the skill from the West.
Meanwhile, as the delegates from Davos made abundantly clear, while the US and Europe stagger along with low growth and high unemployment, Asia's time has come, and the world may never be the same again.